What is war good for? Absolutely nothing. Oh, dear, oh dear. Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome. Welcome to my latest podcast, where today I discuss the latest film from Alex Garland, Civil War? Yeah. Civil War. This movie is a post-apocalyptic war drama. It's not what you would expect, judging by the title. So, the movie stars Kirsten Dunst, who you may remember from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and also stars a couple of other people who I don't know. And the plot is as follows. A journey across a dystopian future America, following a team of military-embedded journalists as they race against time to reach DC before rebel factions descend upon the White House. So, judging by the logline, it sounds somewhat intriguing, and somewhat of a different film to what you would expect a war movie to be. And yes, that is true. It's certainly not your typical war film, and the premise is certainly the best thing about the movie. The fact that it is not trying to be a war film that we know. But then it kind of is as well, because this movie is nothing more than a generic film about the horrors of war. We've seen this many times before, just this is a slightly different premise. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect from this movie. I've never seen Alex Garland's movies. I didn't really have much of an interest in the film. I went to see it because I didn't know what else to watch. There was nothing else on, so why not? I thought this movie was going to be somewhat intriguing, and the idea of the movie is intriguing, but the execution of this movie is absolute crap, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sorry, I know there are positive reviews for this film out at the moment, which is fine, but for me, I really didn't enjoy this movie. This movie was so fucking boring. And I'm not saying that because I wanted more action spectacle. I understand war films aren't all about that. It's not all about throwing a bunch of explosions on the screen. Like, I'm not that ignorant. But I just wanted a story. You know, I didn't feel like the narrative of this film was that strong. Essentially, these journalists are going to end the war by trying to get to the White House to stop the president or something. I don't know. It's kind of uninteresting. It's just very dull. I'm not sure what else to say about it. It really isn't that engaging, and I was very surprised how boring this movie was. There's nothing that happens in this film. Most of the time, the movie just tries to shock you with, you know, some killing or some death, because it can't do anything else. There's nothing else that this movie has up its sleeve to make it anything but generic. And so many times when you see people die and you see blood and you see dead bodies, it's like, look at this. Look, this war is horrible. This is what the country has done, you know. And what about this film screams anything but generic? The title alone, Civil War? This movie's not really about the war. The war is the setting. If anything, they should have called it Photographer's War. You know, Journey Through the War. Something like that. War of Journalism. I don't know. Like, something than just Civil War. Civil War is such a dull title to call this movie. Honestly, it doesn't resemble what this movie is. This movie is so misleading. And even the actors look bored to crap in this movie. Kirsten Dunst, I gotta say, she just looks so bored. She looks like she's there for the paycheck. And fair enough, you know, good on her. Actors have to get work where they can nowadays, so good for her. The rest of the cast, I don't even think were that great. Nick Offerman plays the president. Nick Offerman is just, again, bored. He was so good in The Last of Us. Why on earth is he in this film? There is nothing for him to do here. The movie has this other problem in that it has a tonal whiplash, and I can't stand films like that because it comes across like this movie has no clue what it wants to be. It has no sense of identity. It's trying to be this dark, horrific, gritty war epic in which it's trying to show you the horrors of the war and why the journalists are doing what they're doing to go and stop the war. And then on the flip side, you have other scenes where they include pop songs. Well, not pop songs, but songs that really just don't fit. Why all of a sudden when they're traveling, you know, we have a song playing in the background rather than score? I don't know the names of all the songs that are in this movie because I'm not musically well versed, no pun intended. I just felt like the songs they chose didn't fit the genre or the style that this film was going for. It's like there were two different scripts stitched together. It honestly wasn't that good. And the characters, I don't give a crap about any of the characters. There's even a young girl in the film called Jessie, played by Cailee Spaeny, or Spaeny. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But her character's pointless. All the characters are just dull. None of them are developed. Not even Kirsten Dunst is that interesting. This is a paycheck movie for a lot of people. If you want a serious drama, you're not going to get that here. You're not going to get anything. It's so hollow. The script is so hollow. There's nothing without substance. And okay, at various points, the journalists are taking photographs of what they're seeing. They're trying to document everything. And I can understand the idea of that, showing a war through the eyes of a journalist. That is interesting. That is an interesting idea. But it doesn't work in execution, because when you have a script that is this hollow, where there's no drama, there's no conflict with the characters, nothing about the characters screams, personal conflict. Yes, the war is a conflict. But the war is in the background. The war is in the subtext. That's why this movie is misleading, because it's called Civil War. Yet the war should feel more personal. It's a bit like the film War for the Planet of the Apes, in which it's not a huge action film, but the war is more personal, with Caesar and his emotions and his grieving. This movie has none of that. This movie tries to go for shock value and just ends up being a generic, run-of-the-mill film which displays the horrors of the war. And by the time we get to the third act, I'm just so bored and exhausted by the whole thing that I don't care which way it ends, one way or the other. There's no stakes to this film. And in a war movie, you need stakes. At the very least, we should have cared about these group of journalists that were going to the White House. At least Kirsten Dunst. But you don't even care about her character. You don't care why they're doing this. There's no relationship. There's no dynamic between the characters. And that's down to the script. So the movie has a terrible script. And while the camera work is okay, it's on a technical level, it's not bad. But like I said, tonal whiplash, poor script. It doesn't stand out to me. It's not a film I would ever watch again. But you know what, Kirsten Dunst, if you picked up a good paycheck for this, then good for you. So overall, what did I like about it? Like I said, the premise is quite good, and the actors aren't bad. I mean, they try their best with what they have. When there is action spectacle, it is quite entertaining. And some of the shock moments do work, but other times you just think, well, there's no impact because the story has no impact. And honestly, this movie is a waste of time. It really is. I know that some people might find this a somewhat of a hidden gem in the future because it is a different kind of war film. And I appreciate that the film wanted to do something different in that, telling a war film from a different perspective and having the war itself, the fighting, be in the background, which is fine. I'm all for that. But because the movie failed to create interesting characters, failed to create an interesting plot, and just failed to have a consistent tone, it's a complete mess as far as I'm concerned. So I can only really score Civil War a 2 out of 10. And honestly, that title, it really doesn't fit. It shouldn't be called Civil War. It really shouldn't. So that's my review, or rant, I suppose, of Civil War. What do you guys think of this film? Please comment down below, let me know. If I am in the minority, then so be it. It is just my subjective opinion. If you like this film, that is fine. But please just be polite. We can agree to disagree. Anyway, thank you all for watching and listening, and stay tuned for more reviews in the future. So until next time, see you soon. Bye for now.